who's been doing.
See, I don't think YouTube's going to happen, so I just don't care. Oh, I guess YouTube is going to happen. YouTube. All right, and we got the, let me see here. Okay. So, hi, guys. Welcome to this. Oh, goodness. Welcome to Not Another Guncast. As usual, we are not professionals, perhaps professional morons. We have fun. That's all we're here for. It's really an act of hubris. I'm Mark. This is Sean. Justin is out of state for his sex change or something. Who knows? Who cares? Volume. See, we're all the way downhill right now. So yeah, this is Sean's been here, so he's the substitute co-host. How's that sound?
That sounds awesome.
Does that make you feel important?
Yes. Because I have my own hubris, right?
Right.
So.
Oh, shut up, Justin. So Justin's in the comments running his mouth, because like he's here.
Well, to be fair, it was a client problem. He was having issues with his machine. It just needed some tender TLC.
And a hammer.
Well, if you don't, you only use it for this, you said, and that's how you can tell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, I can bring my machine next time and probably make this work a lot better, but.
So what you're saying is you want to find another way to embarrass me?
No, my machines are babied because I do it for a living. So.
There's Dizzy, in case anybody ever forgets that the obnoxious dog is going to be, obnoxious.
So what do you want to start with first?
I want to start with something that I like way too much.
Awesome.
Sean brought me something to play with. We have Sean's lovely Luger here. I will let Sean give you the fancy pants details on it, though, since I don't know much about them. I know they're overbuilt, over-engineered, and I freaking love it.
So the Luger is a modernized version of the Bochard pistol. This one is a 1942, later in the war, built by Mauser. So it's not the best. It's also been nickel-plated, so it was capture. Our boys, when they brought them home, a lot of them took them to a jeweler when they got them home. And to spruce them up and make them look cooler, they had them nickel-plated or silvered. And it instantly took a $3,000 pistol and turned it into an $800 pistol. So I've been wanting one, and this is one of my dream guns. So I'm
going to mess with it. No.
Yeah, I bought one as a shooter. And that's all my guns are shooters. So this is a gun that will go out and shoot. I've shot it multiple times. You're going to notice that the sight radius is way different and weird.
It's like an old revolver. I mean, it's like the Channel style.
But the other thing you're going to notice is that when you shoot it, it's going to have like a 6 o'clock hold. You're going to have to aim lower.
Oh, okay. Lower than a standard 6 o'clock.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Because of the sight. And that's just how it is.
Yeah. Okay. So the front sight is so damn high.
Yep.
And the rear notch is just a teeny notch. Oh, did you know there's a new rule? There's no gun handling allowed on YouTube when you're live?
Mm-hmm. Well, that said, it goes through some other dudes that'll take a look at it.
Yeah.
And that what they're trying to do is stop people from committing suicide, I think, or doing mass shootings. And having had to deal with that stuff, I'm okay with that to some extent. As long as they don't.
Now, the difference I noticed on this one, some of the other Lugers I've played with had the mag catch on the bottom.
Some of the early Lugers.
This one has the button on the side, which is awesome.
So what happened is they're just like any military gun.
Yeah.
There are different iterations that happen. And the first iteration, they all German style.
Yeah.
And European style had a hill release. So this one has the side or the typical release for a normal pistol. The other thing is, like you said, they're over-engineered. There's a reason why the Luger was being phased out by the Walther P38, and that has to do with its complexity of machining.
Right.
That thing takes 4 times as much machining as the Walther did. The P38 to produce. So
absolutely.
And the Germans were weird in World War II. They loved pistols more than they liked their normal rifles. So in their arsenal, they have the broom handle, believe it or not, was still being sent out. The P08, the P38, the PPK in 2 different calibers. Okay.
Yep.
They had the 32 ACP or the 32 or 7.62
25.
yeah,
The Tokarev.
7.92. Yeah.
Yeah.
They had it, and they also had a Mauser pocket pistol, and they were using, towards the end, they had captured enough, or middle of the war, they captured enough people in Hungary that they were using high points, believe it or not.
The old
FN high point. High powers.
High powers.
There we go. Sorry about that.
I was gonna say no.
High powers, and that same company that was producing them in Belgium and in Hungary started producing 1911s for them, so that they had really, you can find 1911s with Waffen marks on them.
Right.
Waffenumps, and that's why. It's not because they were captured; they were actually manufactured for the German army.
Absolutely. Well, and like you said, they love pistols. They had a lot of things with braces on them back then because they were select fire. I mean, they had so much cool shit.
The artillery Luger, if you've seen one of those, or the Navy Luger, that was designed to try to replace some of the rifles that were out there, because that we came to the conclusion a long time ago, and so did the Germans, that a cook, or the sandwich baggers, so to speak, doesn't need a long gun. They need a short hand or short handy pistol. And that's where the Germans started saying, hey, we're going to mass produce these and hand them to the sandwich bag guys.
Well, now on the same note, we produced 1911s with stocks on them. So, I mean, it was a thing. You know, it happened. I'd love to have one of those. Because,
what's even funnier with that is now that they're so old, they're no longer NFA items.
They're CNR.
They're CNR.
Curio
so
and Relic,
you can now buy one of those. As long as it's not the Mauser with the selector switch, or one of the rare ones of those that selector switch.
I don't think you can find very many of those in
those
this
are
country.
In collectors. Yeah, those are in collectors' vaults, hidden, and they're not going to get them anywhere. They love them too much. So.
Oh yeah, no, and they're worth way too much. What is Justin saying? The French 9 Decoux was manufactured for the Germans.
Yep. The Germans manufactured everything they conquered. Believe it or not, the Wehrmacht actually took 8mm labels from the French and reissued them after they took France, because there was a shortage of arms.
I never thought about this, but was the Luger always 9x19?
No, it was 7. It was 30 Luger, 7.62 Luger. At first, it was a bottleneck cartridge.
Right, like the Tokarevs,
And then the Wehrmacht, actually, time it wasn't even the Wehrmacht; it was the German army, or the Prussian army, in World War I, adopted the 9mm, and that's what shifted them from the 30 Luger to the 9mm. And everything in the German hierarchy for field pistols was 9mm supposed to be. That said, there still were 32s that landed out.
Well, 32 was the predecessor to 9 for ever. And there's so much stuff. Well, in certain countries, there's still a ton of 32 everywhere.
Especially for law enforcement, believe it or not. There are places in South America you can't have anything bigger than a 380 for a pistol. And the Wehrmacht was, specifically the Nazi Party, was big on pistols as gifts. Yeah. So the PPK, you could buy one as like a war bond thing that had the Nazi Party logo on the grips, and those are actually a premium now if you can find them.
Yeah,
they're also faked a lot.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, that's one of the cool toys I brought.
Yeah,
and it really is the predecessor. It is the counterpart to the 1911. So understand, it's older than the 1911.
Oh, much older.
It was at least 10 years, 20 years, somewhere in there, older than the 1911. And it wasn't made by our Lord and Savior, John Moses Browning. However, it was made by Georg Luger. And Georg Luger had a lot of things going for him. There's actually a rifle that Luger had made that's a toggle lock.
Oh, wow.
The thing is that you also have to look at the developmental pieces of it. So the toggle lock pistols were before we actually had locking breech pistols.
Right.
So they were trying to figure out, how do you make a semi-automatic gun work? And believe it or not, the Borchardt and the Luger were made back when black powder was still a thing.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where they started going there. So,
and it's so counterintuitive to what we think about pistols now being the toggle lock, because it seems so much less complicated to have a straight blowback or a reciprocating slide. I mean, well, and the other thing you're holding, that's got a roller delay, is even more fucking But
So yeah.
why not get into it?
So this guy is the American version of the HK G3.
Pick it up.
This is the PTR.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is every bit a G3 rifle with an optic and a rail. The modernized version, they welded Catini rail on top. Other than that, it's a G3. Not Primary Arms. PTR bought the tooling from an HK plant in Portugal, and they started producing the rifles. When they brought them here, they were using parts that they had from HK. They started realizing that they weren't HK experts, because HK guys really are good engineers. And when the first PTRs came out, they didn't have the correct fluting in the chambers, so they were known to jam.
Right.
Okay. It took them.
It needs to be fluted to let the gas go by to break the roller.
Because of the roller delay system, it needs those flutes to float the case to jump it, to push it out. So yeah, we were talking about it this last time. This is one of my SHTF rifles, I guess you would say. And that the reason why I like it is if you had to drop a big game animal, you could.
Oh yeah.
This thing is 100% barrier blind, and it has enough firepower to get the job done. I mean, you get 20 rounds with it. It is heavy. This is 9 3/4 pounds, but you have to understand this was made in 1969. The design was, or not 1959. So they started going into the Bundeswehr in the 60s, and the first people to get them were actually the border guards in Germany.
Really?
Yeah. They were the first ones to get these guys that were basically built off the Setny.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to tell you, or show you.
Oh yeah. So
the funny part about this, I was telling him off camera that these things have this massive bolt carrier. So the first thing you notice, and it's on this lane. That is the bolt carrier.
I'll get it up in there. I think probably weighs 3 pounds.
Yeah. And this is the trigger pack assembly. So what was cool about this is that for an armor, you can take it apart rapidly to install pieces and send it out.
It's so similar to the pack on like a Ruger, like a 1022, but easier to get to, you know.
And the whole point of this was just so that, you know, they were trying to compete with the AK and the AR-15.
Right.
And when this came out for Belgium, or for the NATO forces, this gun came about because the Belgians wouldn't let the Germans buy the FAL.
Yeah.
This is exactly why.
No FAL for you.
No FAL, because you invaded us before. You can't have this.
Exactly.
So as you
they
can
did
see,
that with a bunch of guns, though.
Yeah, and as you can see, it's big and heavy. And what's funny about this, recoil is more than you would expect for a 308 because of its designing and because of the mass that's reciprocating. The other thing that is funny about it is
so it's so what you're saying is it's not really recoil, impulse recoil. It's
the mass.
It's the bolt mass flowing back and forth and knocking the shit out of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. So it's simple. You can tell it was 60s cool. You can also tell that 60s cool by the way you put it back together. And there's the German engineer guys have places for everything, like the pins and the stock.
It's better than a fucking cleaning kit. I'll say that much. And I know you love that, but
and what's even funnier about that is this has a cleaning kit that comes in a little pouch.
It's a pouch, yeah.
It's a little box, but the Setny actually has a cleaning kit you can put in here behind the bayonet lug, and this is the bayonet lug, and it actually sits upside down on the barrel. Okay. What's interesting about the PTR is when they brought it in, this barrel was actually turned down to give it the journal size it has to make it look like a G3.
Oh, okay.
But it actually has a match grade 1 in 10 twist 308 barrel.
That's freaking cool.
So if you hand load it,
wait, what's the length on? It's 16.
It's 18.
It's 18.
It's 17.3.
Okay. So, as always, the best part of any HK or HK clone
is the sight. And HK will tell you that is the way
That's how
to
you
do
close
it,
it.
because the reason why you do that is it actually sends it home with enough
Yeah.
force that it actually closes and locks the design
Right.
the way it's supposed to when it fires.
Well, it's it's the same, the theory with an AR. When you pull the charging handle, you never ride it down. You
No.
run it. You don't let anything go into battery slowly. It's not going to chamber. It's not going to function.
And the same thing with the AK. That's why you can take the AK and put it on the ground if you have to mortar it and kick it, moped it. It is it is the way to do it.
We can ask Justin about mortaring some ARs. When I got that bolt over or I got the bullet over bolt issue on his.
Nice.
It's still not my fault. Fuck you, Justin. I know it's coming.
It could be ammo related. It could be mag related.
Oh no, it was just a dirty bitch. That thing. His 10.5 inches only runs suppressed, so it was just.
It's dirty.
It was nasty.
You could fire 5, as you've seen. This is clean.
Oh, dude, yeah.
And you could fire 3 rounds through this, and it'll be dirtier than any AR or AK.
Oh yeah.
But it will run until you clean it.
Well, and you've got some. I mean, there's decent amount of oil on there. I mean, the rollers aren't stuck inside the bolt. It's fully functional. Oh, did you want to talk about that optic? Because we've brought it up before.
Oh, yeah. The primary arms is a 5X. So this guy right here, it is an ACSS reticle in it, and the ACSS is good for the 308 round is up to 900 meters or 900 yards is what they say. So the first thing you notice is there's a dot in there, and then there's a horseshoe.
It's got the horseshoe, yeah.
Okay.
And then the graduations.
Yeah. So the dot is actually for the top of the dot is at 100 yards. The middle of the dot is at 200 yards. The first stadia line, because there's a stadia stake that comes up.
Mm-hmm.
The first stadia line is for 300. The next one is for 400.
Hmm.
And the width of the stadia lines you see is the width of an 18-inch silhouette at that distance.
So that's why they
graduate down. The other thing it does is on the right-hand side, there's something that looks like a measuring tape.
Oh, yeah.
And what it does is you put that at the bottom of their feet, and wherever their head hits is the distance that they're at, roughly.
Yeah, that's a great optic.
So it's fast acquisition, and for something like this, you don't want to hold it up and sit here trying to use mil dots and try to figure out everything. You want to pull it up, fire, and go to town.
Now, this is, I mean, I shoot long range, but this is a battle rifle. You're not sitting there with a rangefinder like I am. You need quick measurements. You need to be on in 2 shots.
And the other part of that is it's good for hunting in New Mexico specifically. I've used one of these before, and I've killed deer with them.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to hunting elk with one either. It's heavy hell compared to a hunting rifle.
It's true. You don't want to go hunting with like my Savage.
No,
it's not fun.
Well, but you can.
You can tough it out.
But the thing is, you just don't want to hump it for hours and hours and hours. Right?
No, it's fucking obnoxious. But I mean, I guess it'd probably be pretty ideal if you were like blind hunting or stand hunting or something to that effect, which I don't really enjoy.
So the whole purpose of these guys were during what was supposed to be the Russian invasion that came over the Fulda Gap.
Yep.
They were seeing themselves more as set piece armies then, so they would be in entrenched areas.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be moving as much.
Okay.
So their maneuver would be limited, and they wouldn't be doing what the Russians would be. With
I mean, with an 18-inch barrel, could you imagine dragging this thing through a trench anyway? It'd be fucking rough. Like, that's why the AK is so teensy. That was the streets of Stalingrad, but that's different.
And what's funny about this, we were talking about it off net, and you said bring it up here. The rumor is that PTR is going to make this in a 6.5.
Oh, yes, I did tell you to save this.
And the other thing is they have the PTR 32, which is a 7.62 by 39 that uses AK mags. They're talking about making that in the 300 blackout.
So I see the advantage because there's a lot of 1 or 2 caliber guys out there. They want to use one thing across all platforms. That's fine. What I don't like about putting a 6.5, 18-inch barrel is about the bare ass minimum I would run a 6.5 in. It'll work. It'll still do things. But to me, that's the same as making the M1 in 6.5, like Springfield did. it's not fucking right. Like,
No, and I think what the reasoning behind it with PTR is this is their cash cow, and the
Yeah.
PTR 32. They don't have a lot of. They're kind of a one-trick pony.
Right,
like
right.
Glock. So I think they're trying to get.
But Glock
more,
has a 22 now, so it's all good.
Yeah, and they're trying to get people to buy more product and see that they're doing and see the innovation. And honestly, until you shoot one, you will not understand why this commands the price it does.
Oh, dude, absolutely. It's just a G3 clone. You pay a lot for every HK clone.
But remember what I said last
Yeah.
time? That you would be able to see weird things that you're like, that shouldn't cost that much because you can see air here, right? You can see gaps.
Well, and like the welds are
noticeable.
Yeah. I mean, you can see the welds, which is odd, but I don't hate it. I actually think it adds to it.
Yeah, and that adds to the 60s kind of cool about it.
Justin wants to know what the PTRs are running for now.
Right now, street price I've seen them is $950 for this for the GIR.
That's not bad.
The GIR is the one with the rail on top.
Actually, he's got another good point. Everything is being made in 6.5 and 300 right now. Absolutely.
And that's the thing.
That's the new hotness.
Until someone starts producing commercial ammunition and AK rounds here to show that you can get consistency out of them with the 300 blackout rounds, that's where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
The AK round ballistically does the same stuff that the 300 blackout would subsonic. The only problem they have is that you're never going to get the consistency that you would with American ammunition. American guys are used to that, and they're always seeking that one MOA thing. And with the 300 blackout, that's just not a thing. And with the 7.62x39, that's not a thing.
No.
And
it can be.
It can be,
but it's not an incapable round. It's just never built that way. Well, it is built that way, but you know what I mean? Everybody wants spam cans, you know.
They want quantity over quality.
Because that's what that gun does best. I mean, it's great at it.
And the whole thing with
Sig Fury. Fucking guy.
The Sig Fury. I am curious about it only in that it's because I'm a 270 fiend and I like to see what they did with the 270 bullet. But I think the 6.8 actually would probably still be better.
6.8 SPC or
because from my understanding is it's pretty much a cut down 270 anyway.
Yeah, that's what I've understood. Well, you've heard me say before, and I know I'm being redundant. Screw you guys. I don't care. It's half my show. I don't ever buy into the new hotness. Like, I don't. I was sold on 308 for my precision rifle for many, many years, and I never had the money. But by the time I actually bought a precision rifle, 6.5 had established itself. I mean, it just does so many little things better, and I know a lot of it's on paper. A lot's on paper. But I'm hitting targets at very far away, and I'm not fighting wind as much as I do with anything else.
And that's the big thing. If you're wanting that mystical 1 MOA, or you're wanting that mystical
1/4 MOA, what are you talking about?
You see what I'm talking about. You talk to these guys, AR-15 is a 1 MOA gun. Well, how much you spend on it? Because unless you bought a Daniel Defense with a Faxon barrel, LWRC. That gun was designed to be a rack grade AR is 3 MOA.
Yeah.
Okay. The AK is 3 MOA. Okay.
Yeah.
The biggest problem with the AK-47 is that it has a problem with its cartridge that it's not aerodynamic enough at distance, and it loses energy so rapidly, bleeds it off.
It's got a very low ballistic coefficient.
Yep.
Very like frightening low. Like if
Yep. And the other part of that goes with that it's very wind prone at distance because it's already getting subsonic faster.
Yeah. Once it goes transonic, it's done. And but I mean, there are still quite a few people that buy like that Hornady brass case 7.6239 and they hunt with it all the time and they do fine. And they're taking shots normally under 100 yards.
Yep. And honestly, if you look at the 7.62x39 nowadays and compare it to old school 30-30, they're about 1-to-1. The 30-30 still comes out on top mostly because of it's using a heavier bullet usually. And it's usually handy in my opinion. I've always thought the cowboy guns had a reason to be there and they should stay there.
Have you seen I believe it's Hornady is making 30-30 with a tipped bullet? That's pretty cool. Like I mean, it took them way too many years to get there, but that's pretty cool. And supposedly the BC is a lot higher.
What I would
I
still
don't
be
know, though.
curious about though is how you get in a tube magazine without it having any slam fires.
Well,
That's
so the energy you need to put on a primer. Have you ever just taken an empty case and just smacked the primer with a dart? It's not a tap. You've really got to hit it to crush that anvil. So they have it's like an extra soft polymer tip on it
okay.
to prevent that.
And that
So-
and that was been always the myth and lore. I've never heard of anybody slam firing a tube fed.
From what I understand, it's not really likely to happen. It's
Yeah.
not in theory, yes, but
it's not
probably never going to happen.
And that's a lot of the bullshit that you hear about lore when we were talking about FUD lore and stuff like that earlier, is that a lot of this comes out as lore that someone did something really spectacular to get something to happen.
Right.
And that didn't happen. It doesn't happen.
Well,
and that's where those whiz bang rounds come out, like the 224 Valkyrie. We've said it before.
Oh, God.
So great, so awesome. And it
On
shoots your
paper.
barrel out in 200 rounds.
Well,
And-
no. Well, there's that, yeah. But it's another one of those rounds that's amazing on paper. Problem is, you can't find the 1 6.5 twist barrel for it. Like I think one person makes them. So you'll never get the performance that's on paper. And then it really doesn't. Some people have had great experiences with them. I'm not going to discount them, but average everyday guy that's going to play with a 224 Valkyrie is not going to get the performance he wants.
And let's talk about the real thing that comes up with modern rifles. More shooters in this world today aren't capable of shooting.
Oh, hell no.
To the point that the rifle is an issue.
No.
They'll sit there and they'll go to a shooting range and they'll shoot 100 rounds and they'll go, "That's cool, I did great. I got 7 away," and they're cherry picking groups.
Or they're faking their groups.
Or they're faking them. And then there's people like us that go out shoot. We'll shoot one round, one where it's cold. We'll warm up the barrel, shoot our drills or whatever, then shoot to see where we're actually, how much it opened up. And that's what we call our group.
Yeah.
And if you're a hand loader, you're looking at them, each one of them going,
"Oh God,
how can we fix this?"
It gets fucking tedious.
You get real tedious. You start looking at the bullets themselves and how, weighing the bullets, weighing the cases, making sure you're nitpicking every little thing to chase that magical one little piece.
Well, and you're downplaying a lot of it because we start with ladder loads.
Oh yeah.
And then we go to setback.
Yep.
Holy shit, it's fucking obnoxious. I've gotten to the point, even with my 6.5, I have kind of a luckily magic-ish load that's just getting hits wherever I put them. And I'm not a bullseye shooter. I'm never going to shoot F class. I'm never going to shoot bench rest. I do care. Well, holy shit, the amount of money in it. I mean, we're talking $15,000 on a scope, on a fixed power scope. And it's just not something, I don't know, maybe when I'm old and I just have time to throw away.
I think it goes into you and I being more of practical shooters.
That's exactly it. If I'm off on my first hit, my brain's going to say, click, 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 do this and that, and I'm on. You know what I mean?
The other part of that is that you and I are probably one of the few people that if we're shooting more than 1 round or more than 5 rounds, we'll dope the scope then.
Yeah.
Other than that, we don't. We do the dope in our head.
And you run your graduations on your scope.
You do it right there. You're like, bam, and we're done.
That's why I like a Christmas tree reticle.
Yep.
Like, oh, I was here, move these many dots, and I'm here.
And that's what's so cool about, I think you and I have gotten along on that little weird part where we were kind of thrown together in a room the first time and said, "Hey, this is gun stuff." And what do you think? And I was actually surprised that I was invited back. And the other part was that to come here when Justin wasn't here.
Well,
so, I guess I was here so I can make it less of a shit show or more of a shit show. One of the two.
Honestly, this is going to be like the most sober show I've ever done. So,
and they're probably because I'm not drinking, and that's because I have to go all the way back to Farmington.
Yeah.
So, the other thing I wanted to come here and talk about that is going on is I know that my friends and family watch this stuff too.
Oh no.
And it's because I've been telling them, "Hey, you need to do this." And one of the things you guys do that I like is that you're showing the shooting community that there are regular people out here just doing stuff.
Okay? Yeah, no, we're just average guys. I mean,
and that you're actually slightly political in that you're passionate about what this stuff is. And when I say political, let me describe what I'm saying here.
Clarify
that you are political enough and passionate enough about the Second Amendment that you're going to say, hey, this is stupid because this is infringing on your rights.
Right.
You're not saying if you have an R or a D or an
No.
L or whatever, you're cool. What you usually say is, hey, guys, this right is about to be infringed in such a way that you need to get off your ass and say something. So I'm going to tell you guys, you need to do that in New Mexico. We have an insane governor. She's wanting to push red flag laws again.
We got them here.
Well, she's wanting to push them in our legislation session that's coming up in January. The other thing she's wanting to push that I think is amazingly stupid is that she's wanting to push a bump stock ban. There's already a national bump stock ban.
They've been
outlawed. They're wanting to do it on the state level. Why? Why waste time and money? I mean, last time they did this stupid thing on the state cheeseburger, wasting time on a chili cheeseburger.
Yep.
Why are you wasting our taxpayer money on shit like that?
I heard this on another podcast. I can't recall, and I hate to repeat other people because it seems like it's like intellectual theft. But here's what it is. These people or these politicians do these things so they can have a document. Look, I did this. I did that. Look how much I did. I signed all these bills. I am, look at me, vote me in again because I did stuff. And it's just, it's grandstanding. And that's politics.
And what pisses me off about that, when you talk about politicians, some of my background, and I've alluded to it somewhat about what's happened where I work.
Yep.
Two of the politicians that came there, one of them was Susana Martinez, and she's no longer eligible for office. And honestly, thank God for
that.
Oh. Because she did a lot of things that weren't very cool for us either. But Ben Ray Lujan, and his first thing was, I'm going to pass gun legislation at the national level to help us out in the state. He never contacted any of the local law enforcement guys. He never talked to anyone anywhere. And after going through an investigation and seeing what they have to do, and what you ultimately find out is this dude was a nutcase. They're going to do this shit no matter what. There's nothing that's going to stop them. There is no law that's going to stop them, because what happens is one day they twist off and just do it.
Yeah.
And unless you're in their back pocket, they're going to do it.
So, God, I hate doing politics shit. Anyway, it's all a big game, right?
Yep.
Like, when Republicans had the House and the Senate, they were sitting on all these bills that they could have pushed through HPA,
national reciprocity for
all these things that they could have gotten through then,
and they didn't.
But they wait until the climate has changed, and then they start pushing, because it's a game. Look, I did this, and
I'm doing this. I'm trying to get reelected. And that's what pisses me off, is that,
I mean, it makes it hard to vote.
And what really pisses me off about this is that they had all that time to do it. They didn't do it. No. Now they're doing these things, saying, hey, look at me, I'm doing this. Why don't we have term limits? And why aren't we seeing normal people there? I mean, our founding fathers wanted it to be a temporary job that was, you go do this, come back to the farm and do your thing.
Yeah.
And now these people have made a life's living on it forever, going to the Senate and the House, even at the state level.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be the case.
Well, also, taxes were illegal.
Yes.
We founded this country fighting over a 2% tax. How are we doing now?
Yeah.
Not so good. Thanks, guys.
But this is why we can't have nice things.
No, I'm why we can't have nice things.
No, man. I still don't think, I don't believe that you're that hard on things. We'll find that out.
We'll find out. So I want to talk about something weird that I discovered. I like Subsonic 22 because it's entertaining. So I went to the local gun store. I'm not even going to show the name. This is CCI Clean Subsonic 22. It's a polymer coated bullet. See that? They're blue.
Oh, yeah.
And the odd thing I found out, so they're 1,070 feet per second, which is, I mean, it's subsonic. The interesting thing in my Ruger Charger, it cycles the action. I haven't tried it in any of my other semi-auto 22s.
But that alone says a lot about the round.
What's better than subsonic that cycles? I mean, that's the best thing ever.
I've heard a lot of people trying that. And to be honest, I have one of the little Ruger, one of the newer Ruger pistols that you can change the barrel out to make it to where you can start doing subsonic ammunition.
What,
put
like
a
the
silencer.
SR-22?
Yeah, the SR-22.
Okay.
I've actually been thinking about doing that, and I'm curious about it. So when you guys show me, when Justin showed me his can,
Yeah.
okay, I was like, wow, that's cool. And he took it apart and let me see it. I'm like, that's the one thing I don't have that he got. I say you guys, him.
Mine's still in jail.
Yeah, he brings to you guys, and you guys get to shoot and try. I've never shot one, so I've never even seen what they're capable of doing. And you guys being the trainers, you're telling me that there's that one little piece that I would like to experience because I have a kid that's very sensitive to recoil and noise. And you guys said that you guys could stick one suppressed weapon in someone's hand, a new shooter, and it instantly takes the fear, away from them because it doesn't have the loud pop.
It's not the bang. It's not the big, Well, it is and it isn't. So on certain things, so like Subsonic 22 is the biggest benefit. Well, no, 300 Black is almost as good. But actually, this will lead me into another shitty story. My son's godfather, who I've talked about before, is super liberal. I don't know how we get along. God damn it. I don't know how to turn that shit off. Anyway, so we were talking yesterday, and we always end up talking about guns. We avoid politics, but we talk about guns. He loves guns, but he wants to get rid of them all. I don't know. Anyway, so we started talking about suppressors because I told him, mine's sitting in jail. I'm 6 months in now. Let's see how many more I got. But so we were talking. He's like, I don't think anybody should ever own a suppressor. I said, okay, well, let me explain this. I'm an instructor. I get people that come in, want their CCW, have never shot a gun. Do you think I hand them, a 500 Magnum? No, I hand them a suppressed 22. I don't now, but that's the plan with other people that I teach with. They have cans as well. I put that in their hands, and there's really nothing there. Like they feel the slight, let's call it, there's some recoil from a 22 pistol, right? But they don't get the noise and the bang. They don't get scared because that's the person you don't want. Like if you have a big class, you don't want that person on the line getting brass rained on them. You know what I mean?
And you don't want to scare them right off of the bat because it's going to pump up their stress level, which that makes them start screwing up more, which makes them more of an issue in the class, or they quit. And why are from my understanding of what you and Justin are doing, and another reason why I'm willing to bring weapons and let you guys test them and do whatever, is you guys are trying to spread the word like, hey, don't quit. This is your right. Use it. Do what you need to do.
So let's fix that because Justin is the missionary, not me. No.
Well,
I'm not spreading the gospel.
But you train.
I will instruct anybody that wants to teach, anybody that comes to me with the proper attitude, and and I can say, hey, this, let's start on something little, play with it, and if you want, let's move up to a bigger boom. Now, a huge part of the reason I bought, or I'm waiting for my can, is I have that 7.5 AR that is just fucking obnoxious. It is so dumb. But the chance I got to have a conjugal visit with my can, I put it on there, and it's tolerable. I mean, it's not hearing safe.
No.
Now, we've talked about this can ad nauseum, but like on my 6.5, if I was hunting with my 6.5 for some reason with a 24-inch barrel and then 10-inch suppressor, it's somewhat hearing safe. Like my ears don't feel like they're going to bleed. It's there is an advantage. It's an awful lot of money. It's a huge headache, but holy crap, they're fun.
My whole thing with this is that I want one because it's my right.
Absolutely.
And that it pisses me off that you have to pay $200 and wait 6 months, a year.
Well, now we need to keep that $200 number quiet because if people start finding out,
well, you pay a tax, an added tax, for having one of these devices
for a muffler. Justin added in that 45 is a great round to suppress as well. I am right there with them because
it's already
most 45 is it's like 750.
Yeah,
I mean it's slow. My shit did not. Anyway, but it's stupid. All the whole NFA is stupid. But let's face it, everybody out there screaming, "Oh, get rid of the NFA." It's never going to happen.
No. Once it's just like anything else. Any tax they pass is going to stay there. That's just going to happen. Any law they pass, they're going to keep it on the books unless it has a sunset clause.
Which all laws should have a sunset.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Because they're wanting to basically say they did something, like you said, that little checky box that they did something, and every guy from back in the day could say that, and then they can tag on to that and say, this, I'm part of the party that did this, and we kept these bad guns off the street. And what's funny about it is they did really do that, but that wasn't them. That was the fact that there aren't that many anyway.
Yeah. Well, now, so if we talk about, what was the assault weapons ban that Clinton did? 94 to 04?
Yep.
Murder rates were higher during that 10 years than they had been in ages. I don't have the numbers.
I'm just talking about the NFA with the full auto stuff.
Yeah.
The reason why I say that is because there wasn't that much here anyway. Up until the 80s, you could buy them over the counter. I remember going into the gun store with my 86. Dad and being able to see them, and you could flip the switch. I mean, I remember seeing an M16, the real deal Holyfield, and the real AK-47s there. Yeah. And there was no problem. You could have filled it out and walked out the door. Yeah. Okay? No problem.
In the 40s, you could buy them through the Sears catalog. I mean, they just came to your door.
And where was the mass shootings that were happening? They didn't happen.
They didn't.
It wasn't until
Well, it's been glorified in movies, so everybody thinks that it's always been happening. You know, even with Westerns, they think, the Wild West was this, they think it was the Wild West, where everybody was getting killed all the time. It was not that way. It's been glorified through decades and decades of movies. Movies are so influential to our actual life that it's concerning.
I would say it's not just movies. I think so. There's this other problem that I think with when we're talking about mass shooters and those type of individuals that do that, is that we don't talk to people anymore. I make my kids go. I make my kids go up to order things at a restaurant, or if they want something in a store, to speak to the clerk. And the reason why I do this is because they sit at home and they sit in their little bubble, and they're not willing to socialize much with you or anything else, because everything they see is in this digital world.
Yeah.
And while that's cool, and because that's
it's
what
fun.
I do for a living.
It's enjoyable, yeah.
But it's compartmentalized, and you're not seeing how real interactions happen in the real world.
Right.
And people shut themselves off and think that is life. That is the real life thing. And I think that's where we've had the biggest uptick in that, is that we've started to accept that as the culture, and that you've got people that are sitting in their own little world. They don't get their own little way of saying things, so they're going to take their pound of flesh out one way or another because no one's listening to them.
But at the same time, in the world that we're in the firearms industry, call it whatever you want, we are in our own damn bubble. Now, not all of us, but quite a few of us have the mind frame that we need to get out and see the other side so we're not completely jaded. But so much of this community lives in that community and does not give a shit about what's outside the door at all.
Yep, and that's where the problem lies, is that we're not talking to one another, because the biggest problem I have is I have friends that are, like you said, uber liberal guys, and I have uber Republican guys, and I'm kind of in the middle, basically, I guess is what I am. And there used to be a point in time you take one to lunch and you didn't care about politics. And now that's not the case.
Justin said we crashed again, but my shit's still showing everything. Is it dead? Mine's still showing.
No, mine's still going.
Well, Justin's dumb.
Nope,
So
big surprise.
It's good.
Never mind. God damn it, Justin.
See, Justin's fucking it up even when he's not here.
There you go, asshole. I mean, never mind.
Anyway,
nope,
but I mean, just talking to someone. You mean you said you have a liberal friend or a liberal brother?
Oh,
yeah. You talk to them. You just treat them like people. You don't have to expect them to take your mindset and your belief system. Respect it. Show them what is right about what you're talking about.
So here's the approach I take personally. This is just my opinion. Mm-hmm. Let them bring up the topic.
Yep.
And then when they're interested, don't give them shitty information. Like don't give them all opinion. Just little facts, and don't fight. And it should be this way. Blah blah blah. We should all be
No.
free. We should all be libertarians. Don't do that. Just
'Cause you're-
have a
you cre-
conversation. Talk to them.
You're
Like
creating
you
an
said.
echo chamber.
You-
If
well-
you do that, if you do that, you're basically gonna yell out what you want. They're gonna shut down, and no conversation is gonna happen.
No, and nobody's gonna learn anything. You're gonna
No.
push them further in whatever
their little
direction they're
bubble,
already in.
and you're gonna go back to your farther part of yourself.
So actually, this is I literally realized this yesterday while talking to him. Becoming an instructor and talking to people with these opinions, and then explaining to them how you instruct and how you get somebody in, how one of the things. Sorry, one of the things I was telling him was, introducing new shooters is a very difficult thing. And, I gave him the example of, somebody comes in for a CCW class, but has never touched a gun and is afraid of guns. But they may be that person with that, I don't know, cliche crazy ex that they're completely afraid of that could possibly hurt them. I know it doesn't happen as often as we would like to think,
but they could be in that situation where it could actually be the tool they need for the job.
Exactly. So you need to introduce them gently and not scare the shit out. Like I said, don't put a fucking deagle in their hand. Don't, just.
And that's where I think the gun community does a big, like you said, does a big disservice to ourselves in that.
Oh, absolutely. And we eat each other alive.
Oh yeah. I mean, you screw up by saying something, misspeaking, and you're instantly chastised and made an idiot for it. In reality, we should be going, "Hey, man, this is actually the real fact. Here's the link to it, and move on." It's not even if you do that. If not, acknowledge it, move on.
That's the other thing. Like, don't go shoving numbers down their throat.
No.
Don't do all that bullshit. Like you've said over and over. Have a conversation. Just be a human. Like, be decent to people. And that ain't gonna fucking happen.
But we try, and
yeah.
that's the only thing I can say is that we want to be the best people we are, and in doing that, that's the best thing we do for the Second Amendment, just by showing them being a respected and upstanding person.
And we have to understand with the movement of people into cities, not everybody up around this. Like I said, when I was talking to my friend yesterday, he thought suppressors were illegal. I said, absolutely not. Like, there's very little that's absolutely 100% you cannot touch. It's minuscule, but it's a fucking year-long background check.
The other part of that is that there's that stigma that comes from movies, right?
Exactly.
Like you were talking about.
You got that guy with that 9mm.
That all you hear is barely the action or the trigger working, and that's not how they work. Even me not shooting one, even I know that's that's not how they work, guys. That is movie magic. That is just like if these guns go forever. They will run 300 rounds with this one 20-round magazine. I can shoot 300 rounds in a movie. That's not real life. Anyone that's ever been deployed knows that this 20-round magazine probably holds 18 rounds because you downloaded it to make sure it fit in your rifle.
Yep.
Okay. Or in the M4 world, you probably have 28 rounds.
Actually, let's tell them what you were telling me about trying to run. Yeah, go ahead.
So with this, you can run 20-round mags, but the battery of arms with this is to always lock it back.
Manual of arms.
I'm sorry.
You're fine.
So manual of arms is you lock it back, pull the magazine out, put a fresh one in, and then slap it. Okay? If you don't do that, what you actually do with a round mag is you cause enough upward pressure here that causes the bolt carrier to bind. Okay? And it may not cycle the first round completely
because
and cycle
it's riding
the
on the bolt too hard.
Because it's riding on the bolt too hard. So they recommend you run it that way.
I brought up, which sucks because there's no last round hold open.
Right.
So,
and the reason why that is, to be honest, when we showed you the bolt carrier, is the mass that this thing has and the velocity it has. You couldn't have a bolt hold open with it, because it would break it.
It would just run right through it.
It would break it. This thing, when it kicks brass out, will actually kick them 20 yards away.
At what degree? At like 2 o'clock or?
It's like at 2 and 3.
So what I'm asking is it like an AR? So if it's at 1 to 3, it's overgassed.
No,
that's not a thing.
It has nothing to do with that. Okay. It will always kick them out that far. and it's usually weird that it's more like 2 and 1 at an angle forward. A left-handed shooter could shoot this and not catch a brass in the face.
Well, I mean, that's why there's no shell kicker.
Right.
I mean,
there is a little slight deflector. See?
Oh shit! I didn't even see that.
But you see how slight it is.
That's very slight.
And what it is explicitly for that. It kicks them out like this.
Okay.
And it kicks them easily 20 yards, no matter what.
So one thing I kind of like, we were talking about M1s a little bit, is the way it kind of spins the bullet and dumps it down on you. That is fucking cool, man.
It is amazing, especially if you're a reloader.
It's
and
right
for
there.
M1, you really do want to reload because of what we were talking about with gas use.
We didn't talk about that on the show.
On the show, okay. So the M1 Grand was designed for a specific ball ammo that wasn't in manufacture for like since the 60s.
Yeah.
Until recently, okay? So if you buy M1 ammunition or AUG-6 ammunition, chances are you cycle it with an AUG-6, it's going to short cycle. It's going to cycle the first round and cycle so fast because the bolt carrier,
the bolts will override the
bolts and the operating rod will cycle so fast that it won't pick up another round. Now, I had that problem with an M1 tanker carbine, and the guys over at InRange had shown a video, and I bought one of these. They make a little gas plug for the M1 that goes on the end that's adjustable, and you can adjust it to cycle the M1 correctly to basically gas it correctly for any ammunition. So you're no longer limited by the mil spec stuff that was for the M1 Grand
in the 60s.
In the 60s.
Yeah.
And now, the M1 was used, believe it or not, in Vietnam.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's what people are like, really?
No,
those old
absolutely.
school dudes didn't.
Not everybody had an M16.
No, and they were the guys that wouldn't give that son of a bitch up forever. And the ARVN forces were first given M1s, grease guns, and M2 carbines.
Yep. God, I love grease guns.
And what's even funnier is I've heard rumors they were making semi-automatic versions of the grease gun.
Who?
There was a company called Archer.
Never heard of them.
And they are a newish company that was for a while. The problem is that they were 90% compatible with the parts for the grease guns. If you could find parts for a grease gun, first off.
Well,
because that's the unicorn.
They used to be able to.
And then the second thing is you could pull this one had a detachable lower that you could modify to the old trigger pack.
Oh, okay.
And
so it's like the shotgun we were talking about earlier and the Reformation we talked about last week.
So that's the other thing that gets me off on the other stuff is I hate the alphabet agencies, and I know they're probably watching me already anyway.
Oh, dude.
And
they know us.
And the problem I have with them is that we gave them the power, or Trump did, to arbitrarily make rules. And when they first said, hey, we're banning the bump stocks, everybody's like, well, I don't use them. They're stupid anyway. Fine. Well, that gave them the go-ahead to block the Reformation now from sale.
Yeah.
There's a shotgun made by Fostech, the same company, that they had that was considered a firearm or whatever it is, any other weapon.
No, it was not an AOW. It didn't require a stamp. No, it was just
no stamp or nothing because it was, but it was a shorter.
Well, it's kind of like the Shockwave. It was a firearm, only because of the straight rifling. So it wasn't a shotgun because it wasn't smoothbore. It wasn't rifled. It had straight rifling.
Right, that was the Reformation.
Yeah,
the shotgun though. is different. It doesn't have any barrel. It is a short barreled. It would be considered a short barreled shotgun, but because of the way it works and how it does its stuff, it was classified then as the same as the Shockwave was.
A firearm. Yeah.
A firearm.
Just a firearm.
Okay?
It's not a shotgun. It's not a rifle. It's
they
nothing.
have since came back and said this is basically a street sweeper, and you
I
have
love
one of
those.
Yeah, you have one of two options now. You can cut it up, or you can take it to your local law enforcement guys, and you're not allowed to have it. And the third option is you send it back to Fostech, and they give you your money back.
That's not going to last very long.
No.
That money's already spent.
They didn't sell a lot of them anyway.
No, I mean, there was nothing mind-blowing about them. I mean, now, things like the Shockwave, I'm slightly interested because you can put that plug in them to run the mini shells, and that's kind of cool. Beyond that, like...
You and I both would think of that as a toy to play with and plink around with. This isn't a defensive weapon.
Oh,
it could be if you wanted it to be or forced it to be. but you would have to modify it. You'd have to put a laser sight on it, some way to sight it to where you could always get the same picture in the dark of the night.
I mean, okay, let's look at this room. This is
Yeah.
what, 15 foot? I
Yeah.
don't need to fucking aim. I
True.
need to point the general direction.
True.
So I don't buy into all that. I think the number one accessory for a home defense gun is going to be a silencer. Because when you get up in the middle of the night to a bump in the night,
I would agree.
You're going to have a huge muzzle flash. Your ears are going to be fucked. And then you got to get on the phone with 911.
Right. And that's going to be the big thing right there. I see the value of a suppressor. I've said it for years. I don't have a problem with them at all. I was honestly hoping that the HPA passed.
Oh boy.
So I waited. I'm probably going to get one, probably for this, because they do make subsonics, even though it's more expensive.
Well, you can hand load subsonics for that.
And the other part of that is the 308 stuff. Everything, all the recipes. That's the one thing I like about the 308 is that it's everywhere.
You can everything.
You can, just like the 5.56, you can kick over a stone and find 308. Okay?
Oh hell yeah!
And that's why I like it, especially in the Southwest. Here in the Rockies, the 308 has been king forever. And there are people that have hunted with it forever. Not this type of 308, but just like 308 bolt action rifles. I mean,
dude, I want to go hunting with a FAL.
Why not? I mean, the FAL is a good rifle. Your friend, Justin's cousin said he used a FAL.
Yeah, why not? Like,
and there's a lot of things that were way far ahead in the 60s or the 50s when this gun was introduced. It was one of the first ones with a bolt hole open.
Oh yeah.
Okay. It also had a mag release. The only thing that stopped it from first being introduced to us was that it didn't have a manual bolt close. That's why the M16 has that. That was an Army ordnance thing.
Yep.
Okay. Then the FAL dudes went back, redesigned it, and said, now it does.
Yeah.
And by that time, we had the M14, which we already had, and everyone was already going to do it anyway because they had this mindset that isn't true, that once you're a marksman or a rifleman in the military, you shoot groups like this at 600 yards all the time, even under stress.
No, you don't.
And that's not the case. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, like this. I did the OK symbol. I know I'm a white nationalist already, according to someone. If you look at me, I'm not really white, but I was told by a protester in Farmington that I'm a white nationalist. So because I'm from my ancestry's from Spain, so we're Anglo-Saxon. So and my other ancestry's from Ireland. So that's how you end up with a name like Sean Shea.
You make me look like I'm glowing in the dark. All right, so
yeah. So I was befuddled because I've never been in a conversation, because I was literally having a conversation. They were arguing. I was having a conversation. And their comeback to me was, you need to shut the F up, you white nationalist. And
we cuss on this show.
Oh yeah, what the fuck is up with you white nationalist? And I stopped cold.
Fucking
and was like,
what?
And the guy's like, you have no comeback for that? And I said, I've never been called a white nationalist or a white guy ever. And the first time I had to check Hispanic and then white on a Form 473, blew me away, because up to that point, I mean, I'd been buying firearms for 18 years before that was a thing. They added that, and you checked Hispanic, and that's the indicator you are.
So talking about Justin called you a racist asshole, but
my friends call me a Mexican Nazi because I speak German.
Wow. I like German's an easy language.
It is an easy language, but they call me a Mexican Nazi because specifically David calls me that.
So here we go with the racism again. Anyway, so I thought of something while you had your little tirade there.
Okay.
Think about it though. For so long, every Army surplus rifle has become a hunting rifle. Think about it, like sporterized 1903 Springfields, even trapdoors. No trapdoor. But I mean, everything that's been used in the military has become a sporting rifle. Do you remember when Wyndham Weaponry was putting out the wood-stocked ARs? And I mean, those are gorgeous, by the way. I so want an AR with the triangle foregrip that's wood, and just that is gorgeous. And Justin's shitty SKS that has all the bullshit on it. I'd love to see that thing in just full wood.
Restore it back to what it is.
Oh, make it run at least. That thing's a piece of shit.
And the funny part about all this is you're talking about this. So there was a point in time when you're talking about sporterized guns. That
was a thing.
It was a thing. You could buy a German 8mm for $20 through the Sears catalog.
The Mausers, yeah.
So my dad has always been a K98 guy. And
I love those.
My first hunting rifle was a 7mm Mauser, Spanish, 1897. Okay, it was a piece of shit that had been sporterized. It was and rattle can painted. My dad refinished it, reblued it, and I was 7 years old hunting with this rifle. The first time I remember going deer hunting with Dad. The next year, my dad found a sporterized 8mm Mauser.
Oh.
I still own that, and that's the other one you were talking about wanting to borrow, and you can. It's an 8mm
the ammo.
I have over 300 rounds for it, and I'll bring it to let you try. And do the thing you'll notice is that there was a there when you couldn't afford a 270 or an .6 off the bat, and it cost you back in the day to take a $22 rifle, and for another $20, take it to your gunsmith and have it reamed out for an .6, and you had to buy dies to do the same thing, but you were reloading anyway because it was cheaper back then. A lot cheaper. And anybody that says reloading is cheaper now,
you're retarded.
It's not.
It is not.
You do it because it's a passion, and you want that 1% that you get that no one else gets. And when I say that, that 1% is that guns will always be more accurate, more precise than anyone else's factory loads. And I don't care what anybody else says. A good hand loader is worth their weight in gold if you're going to go shoot matches or if you're just going to hunt all the time.
Well, now, okay, a lot of match shooters download everything.
Yep.
Because, soft recoil. It's like the 38 Super. It's downloaded. It's soft. Or like cowboy action shooters because they want a specific super soft fucking load. And they don't care how slow it is.
Because they're looking for split times.
Exactly.
But for people that are doing long range, high power.
Yep.
Okay. They have certain recipes they're wanting to do. Hunters are notoriously good hand loaders. And the reason why usually is because circumstances we've been put in as hunters, the rifle bullet did its job, but it could do it just a little bit better.
Just that hair better. So it's split off into many sections. So like you said, hunters, like I said, competition. You also get into precision. There's so many subsects of reloading where there are some people that just have Dillon 1050s with a motor on it.
And
our buddy in fucking you can't fucking fire anything, Justin. I'm gonna hurt you.
What does he want to shoot?
No, he wants to talk about Virginia before it's old news, and he says he has to fire both of us. Motherfucker, I'm not employed. Who's here right now?
So Virginia. First, go off on your reloading set, and we'll go to the Virginia.
It's gone.
But what I think he was saying is that a lot of us, I got into reloading because of my uncles. I also got into it because I wanted to know how you even made the round, how they came out of a factory.
Right.
I mean, and what's the process of doing this? Because great, you have huge factories. I want to know how to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So what he's talking,
mechanically minded.
I want to know how it works. Just like these guys and the ARs and the AKs, I tear them apart. I want to know what it does to do what it does. Okay. What Justin's talking about in Virginia. Okay. Boy. So if you hadn't noticed.
Oh yeah.
A couple things, guys. If you're in Virginia, I'm sorry. I would seriously think about getting the hell out.
Or making your voice heard.
Making your voice damn heard right now. Go out there, show up, protest. The latest thing I saw was that they have appropriated funds for additional jail time and jail resources for people and law enforcement agents that don't follow the new laws they're proposing.
So they're trying to kill sanctuary counties, and that's not going to fucking work. I'm sorry.
What did he say?
The corrections budget. Wait, right?
Yeah, the corrections budget. That's what Justin's talking about. Is the corrections budget was just augmented to help fund that. And if you want to really see the nitty gritty of that, you can go look on GOA The NRA, Coleon
FPC,
Noir has one.
I think FPC's in on it now.
FPC has one. There's a lot of guys that are doing that, but this shit's coming to you too. Okay, in your sessions in New Mexico, guys, if you're watching the stuff in Virginia, they're going through the same pains we did last term, because we had a 2-month session, and they had a flip in New Mexico that went more more in the left-leaning guys.
So hold up. Justin's calling it tyranny, which in our opinion is tyranny. We technically are allowed to overthrow a tyrannical government.
Yep.
I don't think that's going to be the start of it. Just calling it tyranny is probably not going to make it tyranny.
I think what's going to be the interesting is the first time that this happens, that they actually enforce that law. What's going to happen is it's going to be backed by one of these big gun organizations, and they're going to go to court, and they're going to have to fight it out in the federal courts.
I think the big gun organizations are very scared right now.
I think they are
with the lawsuits going on in Canada.
Yep. I think the biggest one that's afraid is the NRA, and they have a lot to be afraid of. And the reason why the NRA has a lot to be afraid of is when you're paying a dude $4 million to
buy suits.
Yeah, to buy suits and stuff like that.
Put up his mistress.
Yeah, that tends to piss off gun owners who are supposedly nickel and diming us to death to try to do what's right for the gun community. The gun owners of America, guys, are really small compared to the NRA.
Oh, tiny.
But they are also one of the bigger bulldogs in the arena. They're the ones going to court more often. They're the ones that are still in court with the bump stock bans. I can see these people trying to do this stuff in Virginia and trying to enforce it. And that's where I see the problem being, is that if everyone's doing it, how are you going to get to enforce it?
No, you're not.
Yeah.
So here's a side note about bump stocks. So my friend, I love this guy still anyway. I've taken him shooting many times, and he started talking about bump stocks, and he's like, "Oh, I forgot you have a bump stock." I was like, "I've never owned a bump stock. They're fucking useless. I don't care about bump stocks." He's like, "I've seen you do that." I was like, "No, I've shown you how to bump fire. My 6-year-old can bump fire off his shoulder." I was like, "You don't need a shitty stock that fucks you up for that, dude.
No.
Like, it's not a thing. Like, the whole fucking And honestly, this is repeating somebody else again, but the dude in Vegas having bump stocks probably saved lives.
Yes,
because those things fucking sucks.
He probably induced more malfunctions. Probably.
Well, they don't run. They don't work.
You have to do a lot to make it work.
Well, there's even an odd cadence you have to hold, and it's
yeah.
But yeah, no. So back to the nightmare in Virginia, man, that sucks. Like what I think they're trying to do is turn it into Jersey, New York, fucking California overnight.
Yep.
We're talking about Virginia though.
Yep.
Motherfuckers, like, just don't. Like,
and a lot of it had to do with gerrymandering during the last election.
Tons of it.
So they manipulated borders of districts and precincts and counties to get them to side more with one specific voter demographic. And that's how they got the election results that they were wanting to do.
So here's the thing. That's where us one-issue voters should have... Well, I'm not there. Those one-issue voters should not have sat on their ass and said, we're Virginia, everything's going to be fine.
So as much as I'm all opposed to the Virginia thing, I also am kind of like, that's your own damn fault.
To an extent, it is.
Because if you
not every person's fault. The ones that voted did their part, wrote their letters, did what they did. Good on you.
Where were the rest of the people that did it?
Where were all your friends? Where were all your hunting buddies? Where was fucking everybody to get that shit going?
Just because someone has a certain letter beside them doesn't mean they're safe for the 2A.
Right. And now in Colorado, I can't say a lot because the whole 2013 thing with, this mag is not for sale, which is total bullshit. Nobody fucking cares here, but same thing happened here.
Yeah. And that's what I'm afraid of in New Mexico.
It's
coming. They're trying to.
Well, you guys actually got universal background checks last year,
and it stopped zero crimes.
No, nothing.
Zero crimes. Ask Albuquerque.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Dude, we get the Albuquerque news in Durango. Yeah. I cannot watch that.
It's horrible. It makes me feel bad. But just last night there was a shooting in Farmington. I listened to the radios all the
Oh,
time on Friday
shit.
night, and it was really stupid. Guys got drunk. First rule of shooting: don't get drunk. And
No, drink after you shoot, not before.
yes,
Yeah.
and I mean all the weapons here. They've talked about it before. Are all brass
Oh,
checked.
everything's
Everything's clear.
Many times.
There's nothing here that's loaded.
And I have whiskey.
Yeah,
Oh,
he has whiskey.
it's
I
empty.
don't. Well, he
Well.
needs a refill because he's been
Ta-da.
listening. He's been listening to me rattle on. And
That's why I brought you, because I knew I wasn't going to talk that much. No,
So I'm a motor mouth, Justin. That's what you sent me here for, right?
he didn't send you. It was a suggestion. Probably the
Okay.
best idea he's had this year, or ever. Guess
So-
what, Justin? You're getting replaced. Oh.
Actually, I love coming up here and doing this stuff. You guys, the Luger, use it until you tell me you're done with it. And then the next one, you tell me what you want to use next.
Well, I'm not going out tonight with the Luger.
No.
but-
And I don't expect you to go out tomorrow because it's kind of shitty. And
You
muddy.
know, I got some boots. I was gonna go hunt coyotes, but I think I'd rather go play with a Luger because I've never actually fingered one.
Yeah,
Uh,
and this is one of those examples that you can actually shoot, and you can see why it's been replaced by Glock, Sig, and everyone else in the world. There's a reason why this isn't in service now.
No, but the reason we like it is because it's so over-engineered and so fucking cool.
And
It's so neat. The toggle lock is it's like the roller lock. It's
Yeah.
neat. It's different. It's not every day. It's not common. And I fucking love weird shit.
yeah. And the other thing I was going to say is a lot of people, guys, we talk about German love as the reason why is because of the Luger, and this one
The
has,
G3,
this
yeah.
one has a lot of German love in it and engineering that was brought to the Americans to make it work or make it do.
Wait a minute. I just put some numbers together. Not numbers. You're bringing all German guns here, talking about your slight German heritage.
Ah,
I
so-
have some German, mostly Norwegian, but
So with that, my first love of guns started with German firearms. Okay, and it had to do with what we had, what we could afford back then. In the early '80s, there was kind of a bust in the oil field, which hit the economy bad there. And when my dad
Wow.
was trying to teach us how to hunt, the cheapest guns you could find in pawn shops were surplus guns. Okay?
yeah, well, early 80s, like an SKS was
Yeah,
like
Okay.
$45.
But the reason why my dad didn't want me to have an SKS, honestly, was because he wanted me to have a big enough caliber so that if we could ever go elk hunting, I could do it. And the 7 and 8 millimeter Mauser
Yeah.
were those guns that you could do it with. So that's what started me down the rabbit hole of gun collecting was the German guns. It wasn't until later that my dad got an M1 Grand.
Oh,
And
God.
the other parts of that where he had an M1 carbine, and you get into those and you start seeing that there, in my opinion, there are 3 countries of origin for firearms, and it'll branch out from there. But my top 3 of all most influential firearms in the world are the United States, Germany, and Russia. Okay, I would branch off from that, and I would
I
include.
don't know. I've got a lot of
Poland.
Czech guns.
That's where I was going.
Okay.
Poland, Czechoslovakia, or Czech Republic,
Yeah,
and Slovenia nowadays.
Slovenia, yes, and actually nowadays, shotgun wise, Turkey.
And the Turkey
Turkey.
handguns too. The Canik or Janik. Is it
Janik?
Turkish?
Yeah, it's supposed to be Janik.
Yeah.
So that one episode we were talking about,
Mhm.
we had the Janik TP9.
Yeah. And then the other one you want to talk about if you're going into the Mid East is you can't do a conversation without your IWI.
My
Yeah.
IWI.
Okay,
It's right fucking there.
So you're talking about Galil, you're talking about Tavor, you're talking about
Well,
the
the
Jericho.
Deagle.
Yeah, the Deagle.
The Jericho's a knockoff though.
The Jericho
so I
is a
don't-
CZ knockoff.
It was a CZ75. Yeah.
And the what you're talking about with your Masada, that's IWI.
It's fucking
And-
incredible too.
And that's the thing is that you start looking at where they got their origins though were from American, German, or Russian designs.
Well, no, because we were talking about the
CZ.
Jericho, which is Czech. So
But that design, the toggle lock, because it's still using a Browning lock, is an American origin design.
absolutely, yeah, okay. Yep,
So that's what I'm talking about is the origins of the design. companies
It
are
all
from those.
started in okay.
Italy.
Nicola, what? I want a specific as for Italy because
So
your mags
Beretta.
literally say Italy right now. Well, Beretta, yeah.
Beretta is one of the
Taurus.
oldest manufacturers of firearms in the world. However, Italy has this spotty history of production of firearms. They go through great bursts of awesome
Well,
and
like
mediocre.
Benelli, but they've held out.
They've held out. But where I'm talking about origins of this stuff, if you go back to the pinfire guns or the needle guns, the Drace needle guns. The first companies and places that those were designed were in Germany, France, and then Italy followed suit. So when I'm talking about origins of design, modern design, that's where you're going to get it. You're not going to get it from Italy. If you look at the Beretta, it's actually a knockoff of a Walther P38. Okay, just different, slightly different intuitions. Okay, of the same design. Okay, the French companies like Moss what are they actually called? Anyway, the guys that make the Moss rifles were one of the first companies to start making direct impingement guns. So was the Swiss. That's where all you start looking at that. And reality, you're talking about Germanic people and Franks, and Czechoslovakia. A good chunk of where you're talking about design is in southern, would be on the southern border of Germany, and that's fine. It's that type of people, that industrious people, that have got to where they were making these really killer intuitive designs that took off.
Well, and like you said, a good portion of that is America. The trapdoor, all those cool, weird little things. So I've talked about it before. I've been watching that show, The Sun, and he's got that Winchester 1907. How fucking cool is that rifle? Like, if I had like $2,300 to throw away, that's a cool fucking rifle. Mag fed, 351 WSM.
Yeah.
Which, where am I going to get that? But I mean, I can make it.
Make it. That's the only way. Again,
I can fire for him. Yeah.
This is why reloaders also go those weird calibers. Is at first we're like the 8mm.6.
Oh yeah.
You're not gonna go to a store and just say, "Hey, I need 8mm.6 ammunition."
You're gonna fire for him.
You're gonna fire for him. You're gonna make the rounds. Okay. So that's what leads us down that reloading rabbit hole. But when you're talking about those great designs, like John Browning's design of the 1911,
everything he touched.
Well,
no, you got to start with the 1903 because that thing was fucking tits.
So you look at these things, and he goes and looks at the one thing that I think that's funny about all that is when you start talking about Springfield Armory. Okay, old Springfield Armory and new Springfield Armory are not the same. You guys know that, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean I do, but
okay. Because they're a conglomerate now. They're the guys that buy other things. That the Springfield pistol that you guys like, that I detest, were actually Yugoslavian-made pistols and Croatian-made pistols.
Mine's Czech.
Yeah.
So
it was, and then they started importing them and rubber stamping them.
So I've got a fair point to put in. Samuel Colt supposedly made all men equal, according to Nicola.
Yes.
Fair.
God created man. Sam Colt made him equal. That's what he got to say.
But then John Moses Browning made it better. Yeah, yes. The whole tilt lock.
He made more. He made Americans more better.
More better,
more equal than other countries. And in that, what it does is it boils down to the cultures. Okay,
it does.
America's always had that gun culture. We've always been the guys that
we were founded on.
We were frontiersmen. We needed these as tools to survive.
We fought the British.
We need these. We've always used these weapons. We've always seen it until very recently as a tool. And now that's where the dynamic changes. If you look at like Britain at one time was a great country for firearms development. And now when they banned them,
they can't have a fucking butter knife.
Yeah, you banned them there, and then you have guns like the L85 come out.
Oh God, yes.
And the L85 is the biggest slop of shit gun that was ever forced on a military in American or in world history. It took the Germans to unfuck that gun to make it run to where it is.
Yep.
And I've talked to my British counterparts over there and friends, and they tell me this gun runs now, but it weighs 11 fucking pounds for a 223 or a 5.56.
And you know what? I discounted the French quite a bit, but FN. No,
That's
they're
Belgium.
Belgium. Sorry, fuck.
And
Still,
one of the top three languages they speak in Belgium: German, French, and English.
well, it's better than the Swiss.
Yeah.
With Romanche, which is just a clusterfuck of everything. But yeah, I don't know why I always think FN is French.
Because they did have a lot of firearms that they built for the French.
They built a lot for
A
the French.
lot.
They did not design them in France though. So that's where I get fucked up.
And if you're really into, if you're a Francophile, Forgotten Weapons, Ian, that dude is totally.
Holy shit! Have you seen he has on like Amazon Prime?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that guy. You can't watch much of it. It's boring as fuck, but it is incredible. I love that shit.
He's inspirational to me because I like the history of him. That the things you see with this stuff, I like the history involved. I don't like the Luger because of what it stands for. I like what went into production, what it stood for.
You don't buy German guns because you were because you're a white nationalist supposedly.
No. What I like about the Mauser was the first bolt action rifle.
That the spring back on it. Oh god.
That was it was inspirational for the world. The Springfield 1903 A3 is a modified Mauser bolt.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
We couldn't buy the license from them, so we copied it and stole it. Okay.
Yeah, we're America.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not China. We don't just straight steal it.
Right. But we tried to buy it license-wise, and they wouldn't let us have it. So that's where I start looking at the origins of where these things come from. That's why I love the firearm stuff, and that's why I got into reloading.
Out of curiosity, mostly off topic. Do you know who Othias is from CN Arsenal?
Uh-huh.
Okay. You're our version of Othias.
Cool. I can live with that.
Oh, Othias is great. Like,
yeah. So, and that's the thing is I know a lot about the stuff. I know a lot about the history, but the reason why I do is it was something that was very entertaining to me and interesting.
It's fun.
So that's why
every aspect of firearms is fucking fun.
That's why I went down the rabbit hole and started chasing where this comes from. Like, I could tell you that the guy that designed this was a German guy that left Germany and ended up in Spain working for Setme. His name was Vor Grimler, and we talked about this before. And why he did it was he used the design from the MG42, the roller locking bolt, which was in the MG42, and he scaled it down. And the first gun that came out with this was a 7.92 by 51. It was an 8mm. It was the specs that Spain gave them for NATO adoption said that you needed to hit 6 rounds at 1,000 yards with this gun. Okay.
Yep.
And that started with the first Setme cartridge. Then NATO said, hey, we're going to adopt the 7.62 by 51. And he went back and redesigned it. And when he did it, he didn't even have the real specs for the 7.62 by 51. He went off of what he thought it was going to be. And he made one that was underpowered. And that with like a 100 grain bullet. And that's why the Setmes at first weren't supposed to be doing that. Okay. So he went back and changed it again. And that was the final one. And if you look at the internals between this and a Setme C, the real differences in the bolt carrier is the top of this one is only that long, right?
Right.
The other one has the Setme C has this little piece added to it to delay it slow it
down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Delay
to delay the unlocking of the chamber longer.
Which is weird because it's already a roller delayed blowback, which is.
So what's funny is the Setme C was made way earlier than 1947 when it started coming into production. 1952 is when the German bodyguards were using them.
Okay.
Rheinmetall got did a trade so that they could get. They talked to another company and said, "Hey, that was a Dutch company that had the licensing for these." Said, "Hey guys, we will buy your licensing and give you all the ammo production for NATO if you let us build these rifles." And that's
a deal.
So that's where they got this. So the HK guys, the Rheinmetall guys, that's HK. They are the ones that looked at it and said, okay, let's do this to where we can mass produce them in a hell of a hurry. And that's where they got this. Okay. And it is a rattle trap.
Oh yeah.
But I love it.
Oh no, they're
and
amazing.
I have two of them. My other one is an older one. And when I say older, it was one of the first production models of it. And it's named after my ex-girlfriend. And I call her her name's Antoinette with a scope. And if my kids are watching, I'm sorry, because I'm going to say why I call it that.
Why would your kids be watching?
They want to see me.
Oh, God.
And what's funny
I'm
about
sorry,
that,
children.
they're 18, 15, and 14, and they hear worse than this.
Yeah, 15 and 14. I fucking...
Anyway, Antoinette, the reason why I named it is it's a soul-sucking bitch. So, although her and I have since been nice and we get along fairly well, but that's why I named that gun that. All my guns have women's names.
And your bikes.
Yep.
You like to name things.
My bikes have female names. They're my pinups. This one's named after a pinup, actually, Bianca. But it's got a German American name.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but that also goes back to military stuff. This is the only pussy you're going to get, right? So
this is my rifle. This is my gun.
Mm-hmm. So that's why they all have female names. My 5.56 AK that Justin drilled over that you guys saw.
He's begging you to leave this, by the way. Tell him into the camera. Go fuck yourself.
No. I can leave one the next time I come up. How about we do one at a time? You want to borrow one? You can borrow one. Just tell me when you're done with this. We'll bring it up. Okay? Or you can come to Farmington and get it.
He's not even in the fucking... Well,
yeah, you're not even in the state right now. So, as Mark said, fuck you for right now.
I mean, I tell him that every time I talk to him.
But later on, let me know and we'll bring it up. Or you can come down and get it and have Arby's. Fuck, dude.
Oh, dude, I did Arby's yesterday.
I thought about bringing you some Arby's tonight, and I stopped myself from doing it because I was like, I'm not going to run.
Dude, that's the best shit on the planet. Like, I'm so pissed that our Arby's shut down, like, I don't know, 12 years ago.
And I have a 5.56 version of this also.
Motherfucker. I did not know that.
Yeah, I have a 5.56 version of it also.
Is that on the list?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
The C93?
Oh, that's right. That is on the list. And this is upside down. So, anyway.
But, yes. I love them. I would say they have the reliability and ruggedness of the AK.
He said fair enough. I mean, Justin, we got a Luger to play with. When's the last time you played with a Luger? Like, shot a Luger?
Yeah.
So...
And
oh, there it is, C96, yep.
C93 should be. If I put 96, I wrote it wrong. Yep, I wrote it wrong. It's a C93. So why I was saying that is, where the hell was I going with this?
Somewhere.
5.56. That's that guy. That none of them have hold opens.
Well, of course, no.
And that's because they have the same bolt carrier stuff. The C93 has an 80% parts compatibility with this.
Really?
The Setme C has a 95% parts compatibility with this.
You know, I just noticed, I'm not being persnickety, but like even the molding on the plastic is just a little...
So can I tell you something that's really funny?
Probably.
These are HK parts right here. The
really?
Stock sets are from the 60s. And that's because PTR went to HK, bought all their leftover parts for the HK rifles like this, the C3 or G3 rifles, and brought them here. And that's what this is a throwback to. The G3, this is actually how it was as issued without the rail. That's the only added that they put on.
But I mean, what's the point of a rifle without a rail nowadays?
And exactly what their thought is.
Okay? Absolutely. I agree. I mean, I hate the AK shit of the drilled and tapped receiver. I just, it doesn't work for me. But I also hate mounting shit on the
gas block's
cover.
A poor problem with the AK because it'll eventually burn out. And Justin probably will say, no, it won't. Shoot enough, get it hot enough, and it will. Electronics don't like heat. And where it's at on the AK is the exact wrong place for heat.
Okay? That's all the heat.
Yep. And the receiver stuff, he's right. On the side of the AK, you have that little box.
Yeah, it's a drilled and tapped fucking mount.
It's riveted into place.
Well, no, nowadays they're yeah. But
Okay. So what's funny about that is those little weird ass designs actually do hold zero, believe it or not.
Mhm.
I can the RS regulate ones.
I know they work. I just don't like the look of it.
Oh, I get you. What I like about the RS regulate is it allows you to move it overboard like it's supposed to be. Because that
Right, yeah.
probably was going to be one of the things that, as an American shooter, would drive you nuts that it's just slightly off center.
So like getting to that, so like a lot of the like the Lottie is on the side. That would drive my mind fucking out of control.
Yeah.
Like so many of those, you know, like
The-
20 mil guns or bigger
Or
are
even
on the side, and it's like, I don't know how to make my brain do this.
Bren machine guns.
I fucking love the Bren.
How did
The
they,
mag is in the
how-
top,
and
and
if
you sight on the.
you guys need to watch, and I send them to Justin periodically, and I'll send them to you. They have contests. They have a contest right now from Classic Firearms to enter to win a 7.62 by 51 NATO Bren. Okay. So I know that they're contests and they're going to spam you and whatever, but they do show their sales, and it's worth it to
Damn.
do it. And if you want an extra guy, send me the
Wait,
link,
what
and
was-
I will be your +1, or you can be my +1. That gives you 900 extra entries into the contest.
What was the original Bren? I actually never thought about it.
Bren was actually a Czechoslovakian design that the British got and modified.
No, caliber.
Oh, 303 British.
Oh, that makes sense. Oh, that'd be fun.
But the 7.62 by 51, they also made them in 8mm Mauser and 7mm Mauser because it was a commercially produced gun that you could buy. Again, back before the NFA, you could just buy machine guns.
Dude, could you imagine buying a fucking Thompson through the mail order?
Could you imagine sitting at your counter one night, looking at the catalog, and ordering a Vickers machine gun and it coming?
Dude, you could buy no, even worse. You could fucking mail order a house through Sears.
Yeah.
I've worked on these houses. There's a bunch in Ouray and Ridgeway. You could just order a house. It would show up. You build the fucking thing. Like mail order used to be amazing.
Yep.
Like best thing ever. Now it's fucking dildos and whatever.
All right, man.
We're going. I mean, we're not going long. We're at like hour and a half, but
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about we did an offset for
fuck.
the time when we messed up, right?
No.
Yeah.
you Did not.
No. So we're at an hour and a half because we got on about 8:30. Yeah. Anyway,
And I can go for however long you want to. But
oh good God, I'm gonna be drunk soon enough, so
Good.
I'm not gonna pull a full Justin. Oh, that looked weird. Anyway, goodbye YouTube. Oh God, why do I have to push two buttons? Facebook is always loud.